Welcome back. One of the most infamous women in America will soon be a free woman. Casey Anthony is scheduled for release from a Florida prison this Sunday. It will be her first taste of freedom since being accused of murdering her 2-year-old daughter, Kaylee, and found not guilty in a controversial verdict. This is the media storm that greeted Casey Anthony the last time she was let out of jail back in 2008 before her trial became a national pastime. Ahead of her release this weekend, today, Anthony filed court documents indicating she will appeal her convictions for lying to police. So far, the details of her release are being kept under wraps, and no surprise as to why. Anthony's lawyers say she's received death threats. One of her lawyers made it a point today to tell journalists he was armed. You hear details like that and you wonder whether Anthony might be better off to stay in prison. Glenn Selig is a public relations expert who has represented some high-profile and much-hated clients, and he joins me from Tampa. So, Mr. Selig, what in the world is Casey Anthony going to do once she is released? Go into hiding?
It's a very good question, though the one thing that I think she won't be able to do is be able to cash in, at least in the near term. A lot of people are talking about that. They say she can make millions of dollars from her story, but I think that this case has become so toxic that no publisher, no movie company, pretty much not anybody is really going to want to touch it and want to pay her a single dime because of the possible backlash.
So I know that there were some rumors flying around that maybe Jerry Springer was going to pay her for the rights to have an interview with her. So you don't even think that there is sort of that sick curiosity in terms of speaking to her and that the profits will weigh out on the backlash?
I think that there are probably people who would like to hear what she has to say, although probably a lot of people will think she's just lying anyway. But clearly the backlash is going to be so great that nobody even wants to touch it. Jerry Springer was approached, and it would have been a perfect opportunity, had the story been accurate, for him to say, sure, yeah, I'll pay her $1 million. And he backed down if, in fact, it wasn't true in the first place, and he didn't want any part of it. And then there was another company that offered her a nude spread. And they ended up retracting that offer. A nude spread, even they retracted that offer. That's how toxic this woman is right now.
Yeah, and I heard Hugh Hefner last night saying the same thing, that he would never go near her with a 10-foot pole. So what do you think she's going to do then? Does she have to dye her hair and disappear? Is she, obviously there are security issues here for her as well. Does she need to get the heck out of the U.S.? What would you tell her if you were dealing with her?
It depends on what she really wants to try and do. Clearly, this is a very curious case because she was acquitted in the courtroom and yet she's been convicted in the court of public opinion. So now, if she has any hope of redeeming herself and convincing people that there is some reasonable doubt out there that she didn't in fact do it, clearly she can't accept any payment whatsoever for her story. But if somebody is in fact willing to pay her, can she afford to turn it down because she's not going to have too many opportunities coming her way? She's in a very difficult spot, and you have to wonder if she might be better off in prison in a controlled environment than being out free.
It's not unlike OJ, is it? I mean, the same sort of pressure and the same sort of public outrage around it.
It is very similar, but I would say that I think she's worse off than O.J. At least in the O.J. Simpson case, there was a segment of the population who actually believed that he was innocent. Here, in this particular case, the best she could hope for are people who feel like the jury has spoken, you have to respect the system of justice, and she's been found not guilty. There is not, if any, person out there who actually believes she's not guilty, unlike the O.J. Simpson case. And in the O.J. Simpson case, even though people predicted, oh, he'll make a lot of money, he never was able to do much of anything, and he was shunned pretty much anywhere he went.
Now, you've taken on some pretty controversial clients. Drew Peterson, probably the one most familiar to people, arrested and accused of having killed his wife. Why do you do that job? Why do you help people who are hated in the country and have a hard time living their lives?
Well, in the case of Drew Peterson and people who have not been convicted of any crime whatsoever, you're innocent until, in this country and in Canada for that matter, until you're proven otherwise. And it is not fair for the media or anybody else to convict you simply because you act strangely. Quirky doesn't mean guilty. And in his case, he was quirky, but it doesn't mean he's guilty.
But in the Casey Anthony case, what's the difference there? I mean, she was found not guilty too, you know, not as well as, but she was found not guilty.
Look, for what I do, I'm not bound by the same type of rules that a criminal defense attorney might be bound by, and upholding a system of justice and feeling like I need to represent somebody. If I believe that somebody is guilty, I won't represent them. It's not a matter of trying to twist the truth and trying to get people to like them when they don't like them. In this particular case, Casey Anthony, before her trial, was entitled to not be convicted in the court of public opinion. I did not like the way a lot of people treated her in the public domain. But now, afterwards, if people believe what they believe, the system has spoken. And it doesn't mean that she's entitled to representation. The system has spoken. People can believe what they want to believe.
Okay, Glenn Selig, interesting to hear your thoughts. I guess we'll see where Casey Anthony turns up, if she does at all.
Thank you for having me, Rosemary.